Hey there, welcome to the Graced Health Podcast, your source for aging strong in your physical, mental, and spiritual health. My name is Amy Connell. I'm a weight neutral certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who loves walks with Jesus, friends, and chocolate. Whether you're looking to grow stronger as you age, nourish your body, mind, and spirit, or fit all the pieces of your health together to holistically thrive, this is the place for women over 40. I'm here to guide you in the areas I can and bring on experts in the areas I'm still learning. And of course, we cover it all in a lot of grace. Now, let me tell you, today I am bringing in an expert in the area that I haven't even had to learn yet, but I am getting there, and that is empty nesting. So let me tell you a bit about my guest, Cathy Lawdanski. Cathy is the content creator behind the Retired Empty Nester, where she encourages women to thrive in these years through serving, learning, and fun. She's a native Houstonian who lives in my area, but far away
Mm-hmm.
from me, and married a boy from Milwaukee 40 years ago, has two grown daughters and five grandchildren. She hangs out mostly on Instagram at retired underscore empty underscore nester and in her
Hmm.
private Facebook group. Cathy, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here after being a listener of the podcast for so long.
It's so fun to connect. And I love that we
Yes.
both live in Houston. And I don't know about you, Cathy, but I always say I live in the Houston area because
Yeah.
my community is so far south. And I think you are so far north that
I'm
probably,
as far north as you are south. Yes.
yes, I think if we were to drive to each other's areas, it would be a minimum of an hour drive.
It would be. Yes. Mhm.
So thank you for the technology to be able to do this
Yes.
over our computers.
Mhm.
So, Cathy, I've been watching you on your Instagram and I just love all that you're doing. And I particularly love your handle called the Retired Empty Nester. I am not retired, but this is airing in May 2024. And
Mhm.
on May 23rd, my son graduates from high school. On May 26th, he leaves to go on a full time job, like not living with us. He's working at a summer camp
Mhm.
for a month. He comes home for a month and then he's going to college for a month. So I'm
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
empty nestering. I specifically in
Right.
airing this time of year. So I want to talk some about this. So high level, tell me what life looked like for you before empty nesting and then just what it looks like now.
Okay. So I have two daughters. They're about 3 years apart. I was a full time mom until my oldest got into junior high. And then I had jobs that were part time from home that I did during school hours. So I was really invested in my kids and I loved being home with my kids. Every age they were my favorite. My husband traveled or he was either home or he was gone. And we just had, the typical suburban life. We were just did our kids stuff and ran them around until they could drive and went to all the things and involved church and all of that. So I would say a pretty typical suburban family, just a regular family.
Okay.
So yeah. So 20 years ago, this in August is when I launched my first one to go away to college.
Okay.
And I remember, well, some people, there are going to be people in the audience that relate to this. Some kids, by the time you get to the senior year and the end of that summer before college, everybody knows it's time to go. It's time to go to the next phase. And so she went away. I was excited for her. I missed her. And I can see it to this day. A few weeks later, she came home for the weekend. I was so excited to see her. She dropped her suitcases on the front porch and wanted to go see her friends.
Oh,
That just hurt my feelings. But I still had a kid at home, so we did all of her high school stuff. And then we took her to college. And I I remember missing her, but it didn't take me long to think, this is kind of awesome. I do not mind having this house to myself. I don't mind not having to, rush home at a certain time. I remember one of the first, I have friends that we have a big Christmas lunch every December. And I remember we sat around the table till 5 o'clock one day when I was just talking and talking and talking because I didn't have to, none of us had to run home for kids.
Oh, I can't even
So,
imagine that.
see, I know it's like I never, when they were home, I was never like, oh, I can't wait till they get out of here so I can have some freedom. And I'm not saying I never missed them. And I enjoyed when they came home, but we got through it. Now, some people have a little tougher time, but part of it too is I was excited to see them go to their next phase, excited for them because that's what we've been gearing up toward.
Right. Right. This is why
So,
you raise your children to thrive
yeah,
outside of the nest. Yeah. I'm
yes,
curious,
yeah.
what took you by surprise? Was it that 5 o'clock thing? Like, oh my gosh, I don't have to race
Yeah,
home, or was it?
it was all the time. So many times I said to my friends, huh, yeah, let's go to a 4:30 movie because we don't have kids coming home. We can do whatever we want. It's not like we lived this wild life once they were gone, but it was just different. It was just different, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. So I just want to encourage you. You'll miss your kids. There will be a grief and adjustment. Think about when you brought them home from the hospital and what an adjustment that was. But you got through it and it was good. This is just going to be another phase. We have all adjusted through the baby years, marital issues, job changes, COVID, all of these things that have come up hard for a season, but we adjusted and there was good on the other side. And there's going to be good on the other side because you don't quit being a mom. Now, the hard part is you have to parent in a different way. And for about the next 10 years, that's a big learning curve, learning how to parent in a different way. I'm not saying I'm an expert on that. That's kind of trial and error. But you're still the parent.
Yeah. That's great wisdom. That's a great point. Like, you will adjust, and it does take a bit when you bring that baby home to adjust,
Hmm.
and then adjusting here. And one of the things that my husband and I have been adjusting to is shifting from that. And I wish I could remember where I heard this originally, but shifting from the coach, as a parent, a coach, to a consultant. And so,
Right.
oh my goodness, I am learning to tame my tongue and to keep my mouth shut. I could tell you so many stories of like, oh, I just want to say something, but I'm
Oh,
like, nope, a consultant needs to be asked. And then when asked, we'll respond. So yeah, that's definitely been an adjustment because I've got one in school right now, and then
hmm.
my 6'5" baby is leaving
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah, everybody goes through that.
Yeah, yeah. So for
Yeah.
sure. So, one of the things that, as I was thinking and preparing for our time together, I have to imagine too that our relationships with our partners, as well as our friends, change when these seasons change, when we are having to learn how to adjust. So, I'm wondering, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, what kind of relationship changes have you experienced, or have members in your community experienced, of like anywhere in any kind of relationships? Because this is going to be different.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think back. We had other things to talk about besides the kids, and we had a little more spontaneity to do whatever we wanted to do. And we both had time to pursue other interests. Probably not so much for Tony at first because his life didn't really change. He was going to work every day, and we had college and weddings to pay for, so that was his job. But as the years have gone by and we've both had the chance to develop our own interests, like he's an engineer and in sales by profession, but he's a musician for his avocation. He plays in a cover band. So a few years ago, he got in this cover band, and they play all around Houston. And sometimes I go, and I met these other couples and families that are part of this band. So I'm all for pursuing your own interests because that can just bring so much depth into your relationship. I will say that we did not do the typical thing that we all hear about. You better go on a bunch of dates and do all this while your kids are home, or you're going to wake up one day and not have anything to talk about. I'm sure that happens. That did not happen. I just say we just did what we needed to do when our kids were home, and when they left, we just kind of carried on. And I don't. of my circle of friends, I don't remember hearing anything, that was, I never heard anybody say, well, we don't have anything to talk about anymore. The kids are gone, but it changes.
Mhm.
When you get people, when people come in or out of your house, the dynamics change.
Right. Yes, I have
Yeah.
definitely experienced that. And one thing that I'm putting together, so correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but it sounds to me like one thing you're saying is when we develop our own interests, when we start to do some different things, that helps us not run out of things to say because we're continuing
Right.
to learn new things and have new
Right.
experiences.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And some people really have things that they like to do together that they both like.
Mhm.
Tony and I don't even like. There's not even like one TV show that we both like together. But we're still standing after 40 years, so I guess we're okay. But there's some things we like to do together. But yeah, I just think when you take care of yourself and develop yourself and not depend on your spouse necessarily to fill the void that is there when your kids go, that's worked well for me. It's worked well for us.
Okay, that's good encouragement.
Yeah.
So, you know how Houston is, and it's full of these
Mhm.
huge master plan, family focused communities. And I am in one of those that, people always get really big eyes when I tell them we have like between 25 and 30,000 people in my neighborhood,
Mhm.
but that's just everything's bigger in Texas.
Yep.
Anyway, so I see a lot of couples choosing to move and to start something new when their kids graduate and they go off. And I know that there's a lot of changes that come with this. I mean, that's probably an episode in itself. But I have to imagine that finding new friends when you don't have the commonality of waiting at the bus stop pickup line, or you don't have the commonality of athletics and everybody sitting in the stands rooting on the kids or the same kids, that gets challenging. And so, how do you I'm just wondering if you have any recommendations or ideas on how we can foster some friendships when we choose to move to new spaces, or relationships change, and maybe we've been married and then the kids go off and that changes, and so now it's like, oh gosh, now I've got to really make new friends because I don't even have anyone to watch a show with. Or
Yeah. Okay. So I still live in the same community that we've lived in for our whole married life. But when we were involved, like you said, in the stands with all the kids stuff, that took most of our time, and we had people to talk to, and it required no effort to get together because we were there anyway. So when that goes away, one thing is you have to make an effort to make new friends. And you have to talk to yourself like if your kid goes away to college or moves to a new city, what would you tell them to do? Find a church, find an organization to be a part of, go to things. And don't go to something one time and say, I didn't talk to anybody and I'm never going again. So you have to do those, you have to kind of be a beginner. You have to be like a freshman in college and put yourself out there. And I would say the same thing when you move because you're probably not going to know anybody when you move. So you have to make an effort. And what I talk about is to thrive is to serve, learn, and have fun. So I would look for a place to serve. I would look for opportunities to learn something, and I would always plan fun things to do. And it's not enough just to say, well, I'm going to serve, learn, and have fun. You have to find something and put it on your calendar, or it's not going to happen. I know if you're in Texas, we have three presidential libraries in Texas, and I've always forever wanted to go to them. One is an hour from my house. And I always say, oh, sure would like to do that, sure would like to do that. And then I finally said, in August, I called one friend, said, do you want to go? She said, yes. We figured out that the date the two of us could go, and then we invited two more people, and we made a day trip out of it. And so that's what I've been really trying to do. I had coffee today with a friend that I raised my kids with. I haven't seen since before the pandemic. It's like taking the initiative to ask somebody to coffee to go do something. another, and like an example of service, I was doing hospitality at church this Sunday, which is basically pouring tea. And I go to a really big church, so I can go to church and not see anybody I know. But I was talking to two ladies that I had never even met before. And part of it was delightful. And then one of the ladies was just talking about she had lost her husband in August.
Mm.
She had two adult kids that were really struggling. She was just, kind of pouring out her heart to us. And I don't think I said anything like to particularly help her, but I had to just think, we were there. God had us there because she needed somebody to talk to over pouring tea in a cup for when people came out of church. So I'll remember them. I'll see them at church again. And I didn't go that day thinking, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of new friends, but I did. I made a couple new friends, and I feel like I ministered to somebody in a small way. And then when you serve too, it kind of takes your eyes off your own
Yeah.
situation. So we can really get into our heads. And probably that's one of the things I've grieved is how friendships change or people move. And I wasn't expecting that. So,
Yeah, those are great points. And, one of the things that I wrote when you were talking a second ago is you want to coach yourself like you would coach your child.
right. Yeah.
That's great wisdom. Yeah, that's a great point. And I love how you say serve, learn, and have fun. And I feel like that goes back to these new experiences that keeps the dinner
Hmm.
conversations going when it's just you and your spouse. Like,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
oh, guess I met this wonderful lady at church today, and she needed someone to talk to, or however that manifests. But those are
Yeah. Because you're
great.
not talking about who's picking up who when, you just other things to talk about. Yeah. And they're not all separate. Like I served and I had fun. And I'll go and learn something and I'll have fun. It all kind of it goes together.
Yeah. Okay. I am not from Texas, and this is my excuse on a lot of things. But the three
Yeah.
presidential libraries, I know of the George H.W. Bush, that's in College Station. What are the other two? Lyndon B. Johnson, I assume, is one?
LBJ out in Johnson City in West Texas, and then the other younger Bush in Dallas at SMU.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know this. I have been to the one in College Station, and that was
Hmm.
great. It was also a really cold, rainy day, so it was it was a nice
Yeah.
respite. Okay.
And it was fun, and I learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was a very rich one for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
So we talked some about our marriages and how our activities are often centered around our kids. Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Hmm.
What is one piece of advice you would give to us? And I'll just leave it open ended like that, whether it's our marriage or with our children or what to do with our time, any of that.
The transition period. It is not forever. It's okay to be sad for a little while, but what you are going through is a good thing because your kids are growing into the adults you have wanted them to be, and you have opportunities that you have not had in the whole time you've been parenting. So, yeah, be sad and watch Netflix for a couple of days if you need to, but then move forward because it is a great season. It just is. I just want to encourage you. It is not horrible. It is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that.
And okay, there'll be like one of my daughters was in drill team, and so I'd be fine, and I'd see some drill team, and I'd go, oh, I remember when Amy used to do that. And it wasn't sad; it was just nostalgic.
Hmm.
It's like when you look at your kids' baby pictures. Oh, they were so cute. I remember that. Oh, you know, it hits you for a minute, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
It is. It is. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be great.
Yes. Well, I don't know that I've said this that much on this show, but I have felt like God put me in this grace health season to bridge to where I don't know how
Yeah.
long I'll be doing this, but I feel like this was his gift to me of like this is what you're
Hmm.
focusing on as your kids get older, as your kids transition out, and I'll be doing this as long as he wants me doing this. but I just can't imagine that I'm going to be 70 years old and podcasting about physical, mental, and spiritual health. I mean, maybe, but
You know what? You transition into, there might not even be podcasts by the time you're 70, but it might be something else.
uh,
And that's the beauty of being able to learn new things.
yeah, so true.
And
It's a
but
great
I think that's a really good way to look at it because you'll have days that you'll feel sad, but you're going to have appointments and things that you have to do. So you just got to get up and do them, and that's really good for you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, now this isn't totally related to empty nesting, but I know that this is a free download that you created recently, and I think it's just a great, simple, applicable thing to do. And that is you've created this medical grab and go checklist. So I would love to know what prompted that and why it's important for us to have.
Okay, so a few years ago, I started having chest pains about 10:30 at night,
Yikes.
and my parents had both died of heart disease, so I was really conscious of that. It didn't feel like heartburn, so I told my husband, I said, "You need to call 911." So the paramedics got there, and the first thing they asked me was, "What prescriptions do you take?" Or I think they asked my husband. I was conscious and everything. He didn't know what he takes no prescriptions. He doesn't know what I take, and I have them. I don't take a lot of prescriptions, but some I take with breakfast, some I take before bed, so they're in different places. So anyway, I could tell them what I took, and I ended up being fine, and it was no big deal. But I got to thinking, what if I had been unconscious and could not speak to them? And Tony didn't have a clue. So at that time, I just wrote all my prescriptions down and taped it inside a kitchen cabinet. But I went to a luncheon this year, and a lady was speaking about all the things you need to have together in case you have to go to the hospital. So you can be admitted. They have all of your history. You have your medical power of attorney, your HIPAA form, all this stuff. So I made it's called a medical grab and go checklist of all the things that you can put in a binder or a folder that somebody could grab if you have to go to the hospital because it's everything in there. I also put it in a Google Doc that my daughters have access to, so they will have that on their phone. Because chances are, if they get called to the hospital, they're not going to come to my house and get the folder, all that kind of stuff. So that has been very popular, and you don't have to be a retired person to need. You never know when there's going to be an emergency. So it just has your everything they would ask you: your medical history, your prescriptions, your family history, all of your legal forms, and if you've done a will, you have all of those forms in that probably,
Yeah.
and you put it all together.
That's a great
So
idea. And it's probably not something that anyone thinks about until it's too late and they need it.
no, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
free. So,
it's free,
yeah. So
yeah.
go, guys, go grab that because how peaceful will that be for the people in your life who need to know it if you are in a medical emergency, or how it will be great it will be for you if your loved one is in a medical emergency and you
Right.
can just grab it. So I just think that's a great idea. Good on you for putting that together for those of us who are aging resiliently.
Aging, yes. Well, I will tell you, I was doing my husband's while I was doing mine, and I was asking him stuff, and there's been procedures and stuff that he had had that I had forgotten all about.
Mm,
Of course, in a crisis, I would never think to tell the doctor that because I didn't even remember when I wasn't in crisis. So,
right.
yeah, it's a good exercise to put that together.
That's great. That's great. And so we will
Yeah.
put the link where to get that in the show notes. So be sure to go grab that. But Cathy, just in case people are listening, go ahead and say it out loud where they can get that.
Okay, medical grab and go checklist. If you go to my Instagram, it's my link in bio. You can click that there, and it'll come directly to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, I do have some questions I'd like to ask all my guests. One of them is
Okay.
I love learning about people's tattoos because I have found that when people choose to put something on their body for the rest of their life, they often have meaning. So I was wondering if you have any tattoos, if you would be willing to share what it is and the meaning behind it. And if you don't, but you had to get one, what would it be and where would it go?
I do not have one because it would hurt to get one. And my dad had two tattoos from World War II, and he got old. Those were looking kind of saggy. So, but if I had to get one, I think it would be the word thrive because that's kind of my theme word for this season of my life. probably inside my wrist because I wouldn't want it to be like obvious. If I did it, it'd be just for me.
Got it. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Do you have a meaningful Bible verse that you would like to share with us?
Yes. I'm gonna pull it up. Okay. So this is Second Corinthians 4:15. It says, "Therefore we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary and what is unseen is eternal." And the reason that sticks with me is I remember my parents both got sick and died within like 8 months of each other. So
Oh,
I spent 8 months going back and forth to hospitals every day. And this verse that I memorized years ago just kept coming to my mind every day driving because I was just, my focus was this is temporary. We're looking towards the eternal. As I get older, I'm the part where it talks about though our bodies are wasting away, yet inwardly we're being renewed by day. I'm so grateful that we have that opportunity to renew our minds and spirits in God's Word every day. We are invited to do that. And I want to continue to develop that in myself till I see Jesus. The things that we see are not everything that's going on. There's things, God is working in ways, so many ways that we don't see. So when we see things and we don't like the way it's going, that does not mean that God is not working.
right.
So that just really encourages me. He's always working.
Yeah, so good. Thank you for that. Okay, tell people once again how they can connect with you.
Mostly on Instagram, retired underscore empty underscore nester. And I'll send you this link too, just to my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every week with ideas on how to serve, learn, and have fun. And these are things that I am really doing. So it holds me accountable, and just things I'm learning while I do these things. So I'd love to have you on my email list. And then hopefully summer of 2024, I'll be launching a podcast. So watch my Instagram so you'll have that information.
Yes, sounds wonderful. And I wish you the best on that. And just an open, if you just need to pick your brain about anything, let me know because I'd be happy
I will.
to walk that
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Cathy, I like to let my guests have the final word. What is the one simple thing that you would like us to remember about this conversation, big or small, but just one negative wisdom?
You're going to be fine. You're going to be great.
I love it.
It's a wonderful season. Yeah.
Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.